Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Made by Marymount, the official Marymount Athletics podcast. This is episode 14, and today I am joined by Ariana Grant on the women's track and field team. Today, Ari and I will talk about her training regimen, last year's conference championship, and we'll talk a little bit about her academic life. So with that, let's talk to Ari. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Made by Marymount. This is episode 14, and today I'm joined by Ariana Grant, who is on the women's track and field team. Ari, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. I don't have any classes today, so just practices. I'm excited.
That's a nice day. That's a nice day for a Monday.
It is.
So you got a lot of running to do today, I assume.
Oh, for sure.
So let's talk running a little bit. So how long have you been running?
So, I mean, I did like a bunch of sports growing up, kind of all over the place. I did like a track club when I was younger and stuff. But I feel like as of like 8th grade is when like from there on out, then it was like running focused, like sort of cross country, track, field.
So when you did these other sports, did you just realize that like you were really good at running? Like maybe you were a little bit faster, maybe your endurance was a little bit better. Is that kind of how that worked out?
No, definitely. Because like, I mean, running is in like a bunch of sports. So, I mean, I always thought that they were like kind of fun, but I was like, something about it is just not quite it. So when I switched over to like doing like just running, I was like, oh yeah, like this is the one I've been looking for.
That is crazy to me. And I have so much like respect for you because thinking about going on a run right now is actually the worst thing ever to me. And so thinking that like you're able to do that is just so crazy to me. So you have practice later today.
I do.
Let's talk about that. So what do your practices like consist of? Like it's obviously not just running for an hour.
Yeah.
Like talk me through a practice. So you had one this morning. What was that like? What did you guys do this morning?
So on our Mondays, we do like a little sort of like recap of like the week because we have like meets typically on Saturdays and stuff. So we go over the meet and everything. Then we do like some sort of like circuit, some sort of plyos, usually in the rec gym right now because it's freezing outside.
Right.
So we'll just sort of do some of that like circuit type stuff. And then I have like a specialty practice later today because I'm the only like vaulter on the team pretty much. So I'm going to go down to like the high school. We're going to vault there. Hopefully if the snow's cleared. If not, the coach said that we're just going to like do weight room type stuff, like focus on vault. So it kind of depends on the timing, but I'm excited.
And so how do you, okay, back up. We're going to talk about your events.
Okay.
So what do you do?
Usually when people ask, I just tell them multis because I don't want to be like, oh, I do this. And it just seems like annoying to list, but kind of all over the place, whatever coaches put me in, I'm like, okay, like, so for example, at this last meet, I did pole vault, long jump, 60-meter hurdles, and 4x4. So like that's a pretty standard like whatever like meet day. So
right, and you and I talked about it before. And 4 events is like that's a lot. It seems like a lot, but that's normal for you, and that's what you prefer.
Yeah, I like to be able to have like a bunch of stuff going to like because otherwise I'm just like kind of sitting around. I can get like anxious for my next event, so I like to just keep moving and it makes me stay like more focused, I feel like.
Interesting, because like when I'm swimming, I would so much rather like swim like 2 events instead of like 4.
Really?
So I think that's really interesting because we're both like that individual sport. But you, see, I don't mind sitting still, but like you on the other hand, you don't like that.
No, yeah, because that's when my anxiety starts raising. I'm like, oh, I'm like stressing for the next event. But no, yeah, so I like to be able to like keep going and just be able to like, if like one goes good, then like awesome, on to the next. If one goes bad, blow it off. I still got more events,
right?
So it helps in that sense.
That's a really good point that you bring up because we both go through that. Okay, one race is bad. Cool, move on.
Yeah.
Because you can't dwell about it because
you have
15 minutes later, you're going to have to race again.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't matter. Like meet doesn't end just because you had a bad race.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that makes our sports unique that like we just kind of have to, accept it and move on.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What's your way of moving on in that situation?
Honestly, I'm just kind of like, okay, like we got to throw that behind, focus on the next one, try and like breathe through it if I'm like freaking out about it or anything. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was so bad. I'm like, okay, bring it back. Like it's just one race. Like it's going to be fine. Like be able to like warm up for the next one, focus on the next one, sort of visualize like how that one's going to go and make the best of it.
And so, with pole vaulting, with hurdles and all that, how do you train for that? Like what is the most efficient way for you to improve in those events?
I mean, as dumb as it sounds, just doing them type of thing. But like repetition, absolutely. For hurdles, there's like so many different drills and stuff. Like even for our warm up, like that feels like a workout in and of itself. Like just like all like we have to like all the step overs and like the A skips type of stuff, like through the hurdles and everything. And there's so many like little nuances with like those type of like technique focused sports, especially with like pole vault and everything. Cause like if one part of like your takeoff is bad, then like it's gonna mess up the rest of your vault. So you have to sort of like get each step. And it's like a whole process of trying to learn like each little thing to be able to make you better like in the end.
Interesting. And so looking at you guys' schedule, you just had a meet, but now you have like a big break. You have like a couple of weeks or a couple of weekends.
3 weeks or something.
What is that difficult for you? Or do you kind of like the rest? Like that's, so you just had a meet and you have 3 weeks of not really rest, but like you're not competing.
Not competing,
and then you pick back up with it. Is that difficult for you guys? Like for swimming, like I know that like we don't like when that happens.
Yeah.
Like the break in between like can sometimes throw you off. It makes you kind of like lazy. What does that do for you?
I feel like it's easy to get complacent if you're like, okay, like I don't have to like, you know, be as on my nutrition or like hydration or anything. Cause like, oh, like we're not competing this weekend. It's fine. But I kind of like it cause it gives me time where I'm like, okay, I can just like hammer in, like train, like do what I need to do. And I just kind of like to see like a bigger improvement from like this one that we had last weekend. I want to see like how much better I can get from then to like this next meet that we're going to have. So I'm excited to see sort of the progression there.
And talking about meets, let's go back to last year.
Yeah.
You guys had a pretty good end of season last year.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Not too bad for yourself either. Some personal achievements in there. So you guys won the Atlantic East Conference.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that was for you guys and like kind of what that meant.
I mean, so since, I mean, it was my freshman year, obviously, so I'm not really like familiar with like the whole conference, like in college type of thing. So I'm like, okay, like trying to figure it out and everything. But I remember like as the week is going on, like our coaches are like adding up all the points, like trying to figure out like where like Marywood would be versus where we would be. Like, oh, if everyone runs these times, like they're doing so many calculations. They're like keeping us in the loop. They're like, guys, like I think like you're gonna be able to like actually be competitive with it. So like we're all getting hyped up about it. Like everyone's getting super excited. We're like, okay, like we can actually like do this thing, which is gonna be like huge for us. And I remember like the morning of, they like posted like, oh, here's the standings for like where we think people are gonna place. And they put Marywood first. And so we were all like, what is that about? Like, no.
This can't
be. So whatever, we're like freaking out about it. We're like, no, we gotta prove them wrong, like whatever. So we're getting out there, like the meet starts, like we have such a phenomenal start. Like first event on the track, like goes so well. And like, as like each event keeps going, they're like calling people up like, okay, like we're gonna have like for the podium, like for this event. So then we see, I like look over and I'm like, that's a bunch of Marymount people up there on that podium. It's looking pretty good for us. So like my coaches are trying to like add up like the points like as the meet is going and be like, okay, we only need like this many more to be like safe and like whatever. So we're doing all this like crazy math and stuff. And like, meanwhile, I'm like bouncing around. I think I did like 7 events at conference.
7?
So
oh my goodness.
It was a little everywhere, but
7 events. Do you remember yours? Well, I feel like you probably do remember your 7 events.
I might have made that number. Let's see. Okay. We had 100 hurdles, 400 hurdles. So both hurdles. We had pole vault, high jump, triple jump, javelin, and I think a relay.
Yeah, if I had to swim, that is crazy. So, yeah, that is impressive.
Is just throw you in anything that you can maybe get points in. Just
really
trying to rack them up.
So anyway. Do you guys have limits on how many events you can be entered in?
Luckily, no. So
really,
yeah,
interesting. Okay, no, see, we have a limit on how many we can be entered in. Interesting.
Yeah, I know that I'm trying to think. I don't know if I think it's like unlimited field. I don't know if it's like 3 track. It's something along those lines where they're like, okay, like don't kill your athlete, but but yeah, like the unlimited field, my coaches are like, okay, perfect, let's put you in every field event.
All right, no limit, cool, you're doing everything.
No, exactly. Yeah. But I like it. Oh my gosh, conference is like one of my favorite meets because I just thought it was so fun, like bouncing around. My mom was there. She would like run from one event, run to the next one, be like, yay, like cheering on, whatever. It was so fun though.
And so you finished off that meet, Atlantic East Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was your first year Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. What was that like? Like, did you know that was even something that you could accomplish? Or
honestly,
were you kind of like, your name was called and you were like, oh my God.
No, because that was exactly how it was. I was like trying to think, because I knew I was like nominated for however that worked. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like that's huge. Like that's awesome. And they're doing like all the announcing of the awards. Like, oh, this person got like, all like the conference awards. And I'm like, oh yeah, good job. They're like, I'm Rookie of the Year, Marymount University. I was like, wait, what? I was like, who? And they call in and they're like, Ariana Grant. I was like, yo, I'm like looking around. I'm like looking at my coach. I'm like, they're like, yeah, like go up, go like.
They're like, you're the only Ariana Grant here. Like it is you.
They're like, who do you think we're talking about? But yeah, so I'm like trying to like go up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was super excited. Have my little plaque and everything.
That is amazing. Yeah. That is so fun. Well, late congratulations.
Thank you.
But that is something that you're going to remember for the rest of your life.
Oh, for sure. I have a little plaque on my desk right now.
Hey, as you should. And you look at it every single day and remember that that's something you accomplished. That is awesome. And so winning a conference, getting Rookie of the Year, what did that set you up for? So you run cross country to help get ready for track. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does that set you up for, the beginning of track now where you're at?
I mean, it just gets me excited because I'm like, okay, like if I was able to do all that, like my first year, like if I still got like 3 more years of it, like think like how much I'm going to be able to sort of accomplish in this. And like cross country, obviously like an amazing base to be able to come in. I'm like, okay, I can make it through the workouts. Like I might be dying, but like I got the endurance, we can push it through. Like we're going to finish it out. And like, I mean, second week basically of like actually like full-fledged training, like with the team and everything. So it's super early, but I think it's going to be a good season.
So talk me through a little bit about being an individual sport, but you scored as a team. Tell me a little bit about how that works for you guys and like kind of like how you guys navigate that.
No, definitely. So like, I mean, I feel like it's since it is like individual, it's like, it's you against yourself. Like, like you're racing the clock and all that. But at conference, it's a little bit different because like, you're like, okay, I want to get points. Like, it's more about place than it is time. So like, for example, with pole vault, so I usually at most meets like, you want to get the highest you can, but with vault and conference, they're like, we don't want you to be tired. Don't do a million jumps. Do like the bare minimum basically to get the place that we need and then be able to go to sort of the next event. So they're like, okay, like if you can get first with this height versus this height, like do that obviously, like whatever, save yourself up for those. So it's a little bit different depending on like a normal meet versus conference, but it's definitely just like you against yourself, like trying to like cheer on your teammates, like any chance you get, just like making sure like celebrating the little victories. Like someone PR about like 0.02 seconds. We're like,
hey, a win is a win. A win is a win in those time sports like that because a PR, even in little times like that, it matters.
Because I'm like, that's the fastest you've ever done that. So
right.
Like,
and nobody else will understand that. Yes. Nobody else gets that. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. That is huge.
No, for sure.
And so are your events scored differently? Like are different events scored like worth more points? Like for us, relays are worth more points than our individuals. Is that how it is for you guys?
So ours is just like, it's like, I think it's like 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Right. For like the top, I think that's like 8 or something.
Yeah, that's how we're scored, top 8 too. Yeah.
So it's basically just that. It's like, okay, cool. Like if your relay wins like 10 points, here you go. Like whatever.
Interesting.
And so it's obviously nice when we have like a stacked event and stuff where like, for example, in like hurdles for women's, we got like Des, Brooke, and I. So we're able to like sweep like top 3. So like, okay, that gets like a bunch of points and stuff. So like stuff like that, trying to like position people to be able to get like as many points as possible for it.
Right. And so, you guys have a meet coming up right now or in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
What's the path? How do you have that? You got to tackle that meet in a couple of weeks and then you got to keep going. Yeah. But it's also like cold outside. So how are you training right now for this meet in 3 weeks?
Okay. Well, it's actually nice because we have Episcopal. I don't know if it's like this indoor track that's like pretty close. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're able to go there. So tomorrow we're going to be there. We're going to do like block starts, wickets, like the little baby hurdles. And like, so sort of like, I'll be probably working hurdles with some of the other hurdlers and stuff like that. So like more of like a technique, like short speed, like just sort of like working on your form, like all that good stuff. And then on Thursdays, usually our tough workout day, more of a speed endurance. Everyone's kind of dying, laying on the floor. They're like, all right, you got to get up. Like it's time for the next one. And then I think on Friday, they're insinuating maybe a pool workout. So we're gonna dabble in your sport a little bit, but I'm a little afraid. I don't know if I have that in me, but
it's one of those things. Like I couldn't do your sport, so I mean,
I definitely can.
Let me know how it goes.
I will.
Maybe I'll pop in. Hey guys. All right. Well, I want to talk one more thing really fast before we end. You and I are similar because we're both comm majors here. Well, you're a double major. Yeah. But tell me a little bit about what you want to do. With your communications degree, but you're also a graphic design major.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that because I think that that's super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So when I'm like looking at, okay, what do I do? Like, because a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I'm good at this thing. I'm like, I just want something that I like. I enjoy it. Like, obviously, I love talking.
Nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. I love writing, like whatever. But I was like, okay, I also really like the art aspect of things. So I wanted to sort of combine just the two things that I find most interesting in terms of like a school subject. So I'm looking at like advertising type stuff, like looking at like user experience, user interfaces with things, and being able to use like my communications type of stuff that I've learned. Like, okay, how do people like to be communicated with? Like, how can you be effective in communicating to certain audiences while also incorporating that into graphic design elements within like an actual like web interface or like an advertisement type of thing. So I can like, instead of having to hire like two people, I'm hoping I can be a little 2-for-1 package where I can do both of it. But I'm excited to see.
No, yeah, that's super interesting because I feel like communications is broad. And so I like in you having the graphic design aspect to it makes it really unique. And so I find that super interesting. And I've obviously had a couple classes with you and I know how good you are with the art stuff. And I obviously know you and we've conversated before. You're an easy person to talk to.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk about that because I think that's really unique and special.
Yeah.
But Ari, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me today. I love chatting with you.
Yes.
And I think it's so cool. You know, we talked about this before. You have your sport is the punishment for other sports.
No, definitely.
And so I think that that's really unique in being able to talk to somebody that loves it and puts, that unique spin on it that like, hey, it's really not that bad. It's actually kind of fun.
It's fun.
It's actually kind of fun. But I want to thank you again. And I'm excited to see what you do this year and what your team accomplishes because I know you're setting up for great things.
Thank you so much.